In the shadows of history, where legends intertwine with reality, lies the tale of the Hope Diamond, a gem so breathtaking it seems to hold the very essence of the Earth's mystery. But this beauty comes with a dark reputation. Over centuries, it's been whispered that anyone who possesses it is doomed to face tragedy, misfortune, or even death. From kings to collectors, the diamond's path is littered with stories of ruin. But is this curse real, or is it just a story spun by fear and imagination? Today, we're diving into the enigmatic world of hidden ancient treasures and the curses that haunt them. From historical accounts to scientific explanations and the cultural beliefs that keep these tales alive, we'll explore whether these curses are grounded in fact or merely the stuff of folklore. Join me as we unravel the truth behind these legendary treasures and the shadows that follow them. For centuries, the idea of hidden ancient treasures has captivated the human imagination like few other legends. It's more than just the glitter of gold or the sparkle of precious gems. It's the promise of discovery, the thrill of uncovering something lost to time. From the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs to the mythical riches of El Dorado, these treasures have drawn explorers, adventurers, and dreamers into the unknown. Take King Tutankhamun's tomb, for example. When Howard Carter first peered into the chamber in 1922, he famously described seeing wonderful things, golden artifacts, intricate jewelry, and relics that had lain undisturbed for over 3,000 years. It was a moment that captured the world's attention, reminding us of the allure of the past and the secrets it might still hold. But it's not just the treasures themselves that fascinate us, it's the stories woven around them. El Dorado, the legendary city of gold, has inspired countless expeditions across South America. Conquistadors, driven by greed and ambition, ventured deep into the jungles, risking everything in search of unimaginable wealth. Yet, despite centuries of searching, the city remains a mystery, a symbol of humanity's unrelenting desire to find the unfindable. These stories aren't just about riches, they're about the human spirit, the drive to explore, to conquer, and to uncover the unknown. Yet for every tale of discovery, there's a shadow lurking in the background, a warning, a curse. Ancient civilizations often believed that their treasures were protected by divine or supernatural forces. The so-called Curse of the Pharaohs, said to bring misfortune or death to those who disturbed the tombs of ancient Egypt, is one of the most famous examples. After the opening of King Tut's tomb, several members of Carter's team died under mysterious circumstances, fueling rumors of a curse. Whether these curses are real or simply the product of coincidence and superstition, they add a layer of mystery and danger to the pursuit of ancient treasures. They remind us that the past is not always willing to give up its secrets and that some discoveries come at a cost. As we dive deeper into the stories of ancient treasures, it's impossible to ignore this duality, the promise of unimaginable wealth and the peril that might accompany it. What drives people to risk so much for these hidden riches? Is it greed, curiosity, or something deeper, a longing to connect with the past? And if these treasures are cursed, what does that say about our relationship with history itself? These questions linger as we explore the darker side of humanity's quest for the unknown, where the line between fact and superstition becomes increasingly blurred. The idea of curses has haunted human imagination for centuries, woven into the fabric of countless ancient cultures. But what exactly is a curse? At its core, a curse is a supernatural invocation meant to bring harm, misfortune, or even death to those who disturb or defy it. In ancient Egypt, for example, curses were often inscribed on tomb walls or burial chambers to protect the resting places of pharaohs and nobles. The most famous of these is perhaps the so-called Curse of the Pharaohs, which supposedly afflicted those who dared to open the tomb of Tutankhamun. Stories of mysterious deaths and unexplained misfortunes surrounding the excavation team only added fuel to the legend, making it a cornerstone of modern fascination with ancient curses. But it wasn't just Egypt. Across the globe, the Aztecs believed their emperors and sacred treasures were guarded by divine wrath. They thought that disturbing these treasures would anger the gods, unleashing calamity upon the intruders. Similarly, in ancient Mesopotamia, curses were etched into stone tablets to protect temples and royal tombs, serving as both spiritual safeguards and psychological deterrents. These curses weren't just about divine retribution, they were also tools of intimidation. Imagine being a thief or invader, stumbling upon a tomb or temple, only to be met with ominous warnings carved into the walls. Even if you didn't fully believe in the curse, the mere suggestion of supernatural consequences could be enough to make you think twice. The psychological power of these curses can't be overstated. They tapped into deep-seated fears of the unknown and the unseen, playing on the natural human tendency to avoid risk. For ancient societies, curses were a way to enforce respect for the sacred and the valuable, ensuring that treasures, tombs, and temples remained untouched. Over time, these beliefs didn't just fade away, they evolved. The fear of ancient curses has morphed into modern superstitions, like the idea that breaking a mirror brings 7 years of bad luck, or that opening an umbrella indoors invites misfortune. Even today, the allure of curses persists, blending ancient fears with contemporary storytelling, from blockbuster movies to chilling legends. It's a testament to how deeply these ideas are embedded in our collective psyche, reminding us that the power of belief, whether ancient or modern, can shape how we see the world. The tale of King Tutankhamun's tomb is perhaps the most infamous story of a cursed treasure in history. When British archaeologist Howard Carter and his team uncovered the tomb in 1922, the world was captivated by the stunning artifacts and the untouched burial chamber of the young pharaoh. But soon after, whispers of a curse began to spread, fueled by a series of mysterious deaths among those connected to the excavation. The most prominent figure was Lord Carnarvon, the financial backer of the expedition, who died just months after the tomb was opened. His death, attributed to an infected mosquito bite, was followed by others: archaeologists, workers, and even visitors who had entered the tomb. Newspapers of the time sensationalized these events, claiming that the ancient Egyptians had placed a curse on anyone who disturbed Tutankhamun's eternal rest. But was there really a curse, or is there a more grounded explanation? Some scientists suggest that the so-called curse might have been caused by toxic mold or bacteria sealed within the tomb for over 3,000 years. When the tomb was opened, these ancient pathogens could have been released, leading to illness or death among those exposed. Others point to the psychological power of suggestion, the idea that people who believed in the curse might have been more susceptible to stress or fear, which could have contributed to their health issues. The story of King Tut's curse has become a cultural phenomenon, inspiring countless books, movies, and debates. It's a fascinating blend of history, mystery, and the human fascination with the unknown. And while the curse of Tutankhamun remains one of the most well-known examples, it's far from the only one. Across the globe, there are countless stories of treasures said to carry curses, from golden artifacts to lost jewels, each with its own chilling tale of misfortune. These legends continue to captivate us, blurring the line between fact and superstition, and reminding us of the enduring power of the past. The Hope Diamond is more than just a stunning gem. It's a symbol of mystery, intrigue, and a supposed curse that has haunted its owners for centuries. This deep blue diamond, weighing an astonishing 45.52 carats, has captivated the world not only for its beauty but also for the dark tales that follow it. Its story begins in the Golconda mines of India, where it was first unearthed. From there, it made its way into the hands of European royalty, including King Louis XIV of France, who had it cut into its current shape and set into his crown jewels. But this is where the legend of the curse begins to take hold. After the diamond left India, tragedy seemed to follow it wherever it went. King Louis XIV died of gangrene, and his descendants faced financial ruin and political upheaval during the French Revolution when the diamond was stolen. It resurfaced decades later, but its new owners weren't spared from misfortune either. One owner, Marie Antoinette, met a grim fate during the Revolution, while others faced bankruptcy, illness, or untimely deaths. Even in the modern era, the Hope diamond's reputation as a cursed object persists. The last private owner, Evelyn Walsh McLean, suffered immense personal tragedies, including the death of her son and the collapse of her marriage. But is this really the work of a curse, or is it just a series of unfortunate coincidences? Skeptics argue that the tragedies associated with the diamond are no more than bad luck, amplified by its storied past. After all, many other historical artifacts have passed through turbulent times without being labeled as cursed, yet the power of belief cannot be underestimated. Stories of curses thrive because they tap into our fascination with the unknown and our desire to make sense of chaos. The Hope diamond's legend is perpetuated not just by its history, but by the way people interpret that history. Whether the curse is real or imagined, it's a reminder of how deeply our beliefs shape the way we see the world, and how a single object can carry the weight of centuries of human fascination. For centuries, the legend of El Dorado has captivated the imaginations of adventurers, historians, and treasure hunters alike. This fabled city of gold, said to be hidden deep within the jungles of South America, has lured countless explorers to their doom. From the Spanish conquistadors of the 16th century to modern-day fortune seekers, the promise of untold riches has driven many to brave treacherous terrains, disease, and hostile environments. Yet, for all who sought it, El Dorado remained frustratingly out of reach. Some never returned, their fates swallowed by the unforgiving wilderness. Others came back empty-handed, their spirits broken by the relentless pursuit of a dream that seemed to vanish like a mirage. The stories surrounding El Dorado are steeped in mystery and danger. Many believe the city is cursed, its treasures protected by ancient forces that punish those who dare to disturb its secrets. Tales of explorers meeting tragic ends, lost to illness, accidents, or even madness have only added to the myth's allure and fear. But could these stories of curses have served a deeper purpose? Some historians suggest that the legend of a cursed city was deliberately spread by indigenous peoples as a way to deter outsiders from plundering their lands. By weaving tales of supernatural retribution, they may have hoped to protect their sacred sites and resources from exploitation. The psychological impact of such legends on treasure hunters cannot be underestimated. The idea of a curse taps into primal fears, playing on the human mind's susceptibility to suggestion and superstition. For those who ventured into the unknown, the constant threat of an unseen, malevolent force could have been as paralyzing as any physical obstacle. The weight of expectation, combined with the whispers of doom, often led to rash decisions, paranoia, and even self-destruction. In this way, the curse of El Dorado may have been as much a product of the human psyche as it was a tale spun to protect a hidden treasure. But what does science have to say about these so-called curses? While skeptics dismiss the idea of supernatural forces, they acknowledge that many of the tragedies associated with cursed treasures can be explained by natural causes. Harsh environments, disease, and human error have claimed countless lives throughout history, often coinciding with high-stakes treasure hunts. The power of suggestion, too, plays a significant role. When people believe in a curse, their actions and their outcomes can be profoundly influenced by that belief. In the end, whether the curse of El Dorado is real or imagined, its impact on those who sought it is undeniable, a testament to the enduring power of myth and the human desire for the unattainable. But what if curses aren't supernatural at all? What if there's a scientific explanation behind the so-called misfortune that seems to follow those who disturb ancient treasures? Let's explore some fascinating theories that shed light on these eerie phenomena, blending science with history to uncover the truth. One compelling explanation involves the presence of toxic substances in ancient tombs. Many burial sites were constructed with materials like lead-based paints or mercury, both of which can have deadly effects on the human body. Prolonged exposure to these toxins could cause symptoms like dizziness, hallucinations, or even death, symptoms that might easily be mistaken for the work of a curse. For instance, the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, is rumored to be filled with rivers of mercury, a substance known for its lethal properties. Could it be that the curse surrounding his tomb is simply the result of natural chemical hazards? Another theory points to radiation. Some ancient structures, like the pyramids of Egypt, contain materials with naturally occurring radioactive elements. Long-term exposure to these elements could lead to illness or strange physical reactions, reinforcing the belief that the site is cursed. In fact, some researchers have suggested that the infamous Curse of the Pharaohs might be linked to radiation levels in certain tombs, which could explain the health issues reported by early archaeologists. Then there's the power of psychology. Fear and suggestion are incredibly potent forces. When people enter a tomb or handle ancient artifacts, they often do so with a sense of trepidation, their minds already primed to expect the worst. This psychological state can make even ordinary misfortunes like a broken tool or a sudden headache feel like evidence of a curse. The human brain is wired to detect patterns even when none exist, and this tendency can amplify the perception of a curse. For example, after the discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb, a series of deaths among those involved in the excavation were widely attributed to a curse. Yet, statistically, the number of deaths wasn't unusually high. It was the power of suggestion that turned coincidence into legend. Science has also stepped in to clarify other supposed curses. Take the case of the Hope Diamond, a gemstone said to bring misfortune to its owners. While stories of tragedy surround the diamond, researchers have pointed out that many of these tales are either exaggerated or entirely fabricated. The curse is more a product of sensational storytelling than any supernatural force. Similarly, the Curse of the Bambino, which supposedly plagued the Boston Red Sox after they traded Babe Ruth, was more about superstition and sports psychology than any real curse. Yet, even as science unravels these mysteries, the cultural significance of curses remains undeniable. These beliefs often reflect deeper fears and values, serving as cautionary tales or ways to explain the unexplainable. Whether rooted in toxic tombs, radiation, or the power of the mind, the idea of curses continues to captivate us, blending history, science, and folklore into a single, enduring narrative. And as we move forward, it's worth asking, do these scientific explanations diminish the allure of curses, or do they make them even more intriguing? Curses have been a powerful storytelling device for centuries, appearing in myths and folklore across the globe. From the vengeful gods of Greek mythology to the spiritual warnings of Native American legends, these tales often served as cautionary narratives, reflecting the deepest fears and values of the societies that told them. Take, for instance, the story of King Midas, whose greed led to a curse that turned everything he touched into gold, a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition. Similarly, in Native American lore, curses often acted as lessons about respecting nature and the balance of life, such as the Wendigo, a spirit that punishes those who succumb to greed and cannibalism. These stories weren't just entertainment. They were a way for communities to pass down moral codes and warnings through generations. But why do curses resonate so deeply? Part of their power lies in their psychological impact. When a curse is placed on someone or something, it taps into our innate fear of the unknown and the uncontrollable. Storytelling amplifies this effect, embedding curses into collective memory and making them feel almost tangible. Think about it. How many times have you heard a tale of a cursed object or place and felt a shiver run down your spine, even if you didn't fully believe it? That's the magic of folklore at work. It doesn't just tell us what to fear, it makes us feel it, creating a connection between the past and the present. This psychological weight isn't just limited to ancient stories. Even today, the idea of curses lingers in our modern consciousness, whether it's the infamous curse of the Hope Diamond or the superstitions surrounding cursed films like The Exorcist. These modern myths show how the concept of curses continues to evolve, adapting to new contexts while still tapping into those primal fears. And that's where the real power of storytelling comes in. It preserves these ideas, keeping them alive and relevant, even as the world changes around them. So, what does this say about us as storytellers and listeners? Perhaps it's a reminder that, deep down, we're still drawn to the mysteries and warnings that curses represent, no matter how far we've come. The human mind is a fascinating puzzle, always searching for meaning even in the most random events. This tendency to see patterns where none exist is called apophenia, and it plays a huge role in why stories of cursed treasures persist. Think about it. When something goes wrong after someone disturbs an ancient artifact, it's easy to connect the dots and blame the curse. But is it really the curse, or are we just wired to find explanations, no matter how unlikely? Confirmation bias takes this a step further. Once someone believes in a curse, they're more likely to notice every little thing that goes wrong while ignoring all the times nothing happens at all. For example, take the infamous case of the Hope Diamond. Stories of misfortune and tragedy surround its history, from financial ruin to untimely deaths. Yet for every tale of woe, there are countless others who own the diamond without incident. But those stories don't make the headlines, only the tragedies do. This selective attention keeps the myth alive, feeding our fascination with the idea that disturbing the past can bring doom. And then there's the power of fear. Many treasure hunters have walked away from potentially life-changing discoveries simply because the stories of curses spooked them. Take the legend of King Tut's tomb. After its discovery in 1922, rumors spread like wildfire about the curse of the pharaohs, especially when Lord Carnarvon, who funded the expedition, died shortly after. While modern science attributes his death to an infected mosquito bite, the legend took hold, and many people refused to touch anything from the tomb. Fear, it seems, can be just as powerful as any supernatural force, but this brings us to an important question. If curses are more about psychology than reality, what does that mean for treasure hunting? On one hand, it's thrilling to uncover history's secrets, but on the other, there's a responsibility to respect the cultures and beliefs tied to these artifacts. Should we disturb sacred sites or graves for the sake of discovery, even if we don't believe in curses? These ethical dilemmas don't have easy answers, but they remind us that the stories we tell about the past and the fears we attach to it shape how we interact with history today. When we think about treasure hunting, it's easy to get swept up in the romance of discovery, the idea of unearthing a long-lost relic or uncovering a piece of history hidden for centuries. But beneath the surface of this adventure lies a web of ethical dilemmas that challenge the very nature of what it means to find something. Who truly owns these treasures? And what happens when an artifact is taken from its cultural roots? Take, for example, the removal of ancient artifacts from their original sites. These objects aren't just historical curiosities, they're pieces of a living story, tied to the people and cultures that created them. When treasures are dug up and moved, they are often stripped of their context, losing the deeper meaning they once held. For many, this isn't just an academic concern, it's a form of theft, robbing communities of their heritage and history. This debate isn't just theoretical. There are real-world examples where treasure hunters have faced severe backlash. In the early 2000s, a team of explorers uncovered a shipwreck off the coast of Indonesia, filled with ancient ceramics and gold. While the discovery was celebrated at first, it quickly turned controversial. The artifacts were auctioned off to private collectors, sparking outrage from local historians and archaeologists who argued that the treasures belonged to the region's cultural legacy. Legal battles followed, highlighting the murky waters of ownership and ethics in treasure hunting. But what if cultures themselves have long anticipated this tension? This brings us to the idea of curses. Beyond the eerie stories and superstitions, curses may have served a practical purpose, protecting sacred sites and artifacts from those who might exploit them. In many ancient societies, curses were a way to deter theft or desecration, acting as a form of cultural preservation. The fear of divine retribution wasn't just about superstition, it was about safeguarding what mattered most. As we dig deeper into these ethical questions, it becomes clear that the allure of treasure hunting is more complicated than it seems. The thrill of discovery is undeniable, but it comes with a responsibility, one that asks us to consider not just what we find, but what we leave behind. But why would ancient cultures go to such lengths to protect their treasures with curses? The answer lies in the power of belief. For many societies, curses weren't just superstitions, they were a form of cultural armor. Imagine a world where invaders hesitated to plunder sacred tombs or temples, not because of physical barriers, but because they feared the wrath of unseen forces. These curses acted as psychological deterrents, a way to safeguard not just gold and jewels, but the very essence of a culture's identity. The idea of a curse was enough to make even the bravest warrior think twice. Take the ancient Egyptians, for example. Their tombs were often inscribed with warnings meant to terrify anyone who dared disturb the resting place of a pharaoh. "Death shall come on swift wings to those who break this seal," reads one infamous inscription. Was it real? Probably not. But the fear it instilled was very real, and that fear protected the tombs for centuries. Similarly, in South America, the Inca civilization was said to have cursed their sacred sites to ward off Spanish conquistadors. Even today, some locals in the Andes firmly believe that disturbing these ancient places brings misfortune. This belief in curses isn't just a relic of the past. In certain parts of the world, the power of curses is still taken very seriously. In the Philippines, for instance, the Yuzog curse is deeply rooted in local folklore. It's believed that a stranger's compliment or gaze can bring illness or bad luck unless a ritual is performed to counteract it. These traditions highlight how curses have long been a way for cultures to assert control over their environment and protect what they hold sacred. So, what does this mean for modern treasure hunters? Even in the 21st century, the idea of curses lingers in the collective imagination. While most adventurers today rely on high-tech equipment and historical research, the shadow of ancient warnings still looms large. Some dismiss curses as mere superstition, but others tread carefully, respecting the cultural weight behind these stories. After all, whether real or imagined, curses remind us that treasure isn't just about wealth, it's about the stories, beliefs, and legacies that surround it. And as we'll see next, those stories often hold more value than gold itself. Modern-day treasure hunters are a fascinating breed of adventurers, blending old-world curiosity with cutting-edge technology. Gone are the days when explorers relied solely on ancient maps and cryptic clues. Today, they wield metal detectors, ground-penetrating radar, and even drones to uncover hidden relics. But with these advancements comes a new challenge: the stories of cursed artifacts that seem to defy logic and science. Many treasure hunters have shared eerie accounts of strange occurrences after unearthing certain objects, unexplained illnesses, financial ruin, or even a string of bad luck that feels too coincidental to ignore. These tales, whether rooted in superstition or something more mysterious, add a layer of intrigue to their already perilous pursuits. Take, for instance, the story of a diver who discovered a golden amulet off the coast of Greece. He described feeling an overwhelming sense of dread the moment he touched it. Within weeks, his equipment malfunctioned, and a series of accidents left him questioning whether the artifact carried a curse. Stories like this aren't uncommon in the treasure hunting community, and they often spark heated debates. Are these curses real, or are they psychological, the mind's way of grappling with the unknown? What's even more compelling is how modern media amplifies these myths. Documentaries, podcasts, and social media platforms have turned treasure hunters into modern-day celebrities, often sensationalizing their encounters with cursed objects. Shows that blend history with mystery captivate audiences, but they also blur the line between fact and folklore. This media frenzy has a way of breathing new life into ancient superstitions, making them feel more real to a global audience. It's a double-edged sword. While it brings attention to these incredible discoveries, it also perpetuates the idea that some treasures are better left buried. As we dive deeper into the world of cursed artifacts, it's worth considering how much of these stories are shaped by the tools we use to tell them. Technology may have changed the way we hunt for treasure, but it hasn't dulled the allure of the unknown. If anything, it's made the legends surrounding these objects even more vivid. So, what's the truth behind these curses? Are they warnings from the past, or simply tales spun to captivate our imaginations? The answers might lie somewhere in between, where history and mystery collide. From the dusty pages of ancient manuscripts to the silver screen, the idea of cursed treasures has been amplified and dramatized by the media in ways that captivate audiences worldwide. Think about it. How many times have you seen a movie where a daring adventurer uncovers a priceless artifact only to face horrific consequences? Or read a book where a cursed relic brings doom to anyone who dares to possess it? These stories, while thrilling, often blur the line between historical fact and fictional embellishment, shaping how we perceive these so-called cursed treasures. Take, for example, the infamous story of Tutankhamun's tomb. When Howard Carter opened the burial chamber in 1922, rumors of a mummy's curse quickly spread, fueled by sensational newspaper headlines and the mysterious deaths of some of the expedition members. While historians argue that the curse was more myth than reality, the media latched onto the idea, creating a narrative so compelling that it endures to this day. This is just one instance of how storytelling, whether in books, films, or documentaries, can take a kernel of truth and spin it into a tale that feels larger than life. But why does the media gravitate toward these stories? The answer lies in their universal appeal. Curses tap into something primal within us, a mix of fear, curiosity, and fascination with the unknown. By dramatizing these tales, filmmakers and authors not only entertain but also create a shared cultural experience. However, this comes at a cost. When sensationalized stories dominate the narrative, they can overshadow the real history and archaeological significance of these treasures. The line between fact and fiction becomes blurred, leaving audiences to wonder what's real and what's merely a product of creative imagination. This blurring of reality has a ripple effect, influencing not just our perceptions but also our actions. Consider the economic impact of cursed treasures. The allure of a cursed artifact can drive tourism, inspire museum exhibits, and even boost sales of related merchandise. Yet, at the same time, it can create a sense of unease or superstition that affects how these treasures are treated. For instance, some artifacts are avoided or mishandled due to fears of curses, while others are overhyped, leading to ethical concerns about their preservation and display. As we explore these themes, it's worth reflecting on how much of what we believe about cursed treasures is shaped by the stories we consume. Are these curses real, or are they simply tales spun to keep us hooked? The answer may lie somewhere in between, but one thing is certain: the media's role in perpetuating these legends is as powerful as the curses themselves. And as we'll see next, this fascination with cursed treasures extends far beyond folklore, influencing economies, cultures, and even the way we view history itself. The allure of cursed treasures isn't just about spine-chilling legends or eerie tales. It's also a powerful economic force. Across the globe, museums and tourist sites capitalize on the mystique of cursed artifacts, drawing in millions of curious visitors each year. Take, for example, the infamous Hope Diamond, a stunning blue gem said to bring misfortune to its owners. Displayed at the Smithsonian Museum, this cursed treasure has become one of their most popular exhibits, attracting crowds eager to see the jewel and hear its chilling backstory. The diamond's reputation isn't just a footnote in history, it's a major driver of tourism, proving that even a curse can be good for business. But it's not just about the Hope Diamond. Museums worldwide have embraced the trend, showcasing artifacts with cursed legends to boost attendance. The British Museum's Egyptian mummies, often accompanied by tales of ancient curses, draw countless visitors each year. These stories, whether rooted in fact or fiction, create a sense of intrigue that's hard to resist. After all, who wouldn't want to see an object rumored to carry the wrath of the gods or the spirits of the dead? It's a clever strategy combining history, mystery, and a touch of the supernatural to captivate audiences. The financial incentives behind promoting these cursed stories are undeniable. Museums and cultural sites often face tight budgets, and the promise of increased ticket sales can make all the difference. By highlighting the cursed reputations of certain artifacts, these institutions tap into our fascination with the unknown, transforming ancient relics into must-see attractions. And it's not just museums, entire cities and regions benefit from the tourism generated by cursed treasures. Places like the Tower of London with its cursed jewels or the catacombs of Paris, steeped in eerie legends, have become global hotspots for thrill seekers and history buffs alike. Yet, the economic impact of cursed treasures isn't without controversy. Behind the scenes, there's often a complex web of legal battles over ownership and display rights. Many of these artifacts were taken from their countries of origin under questionable circumstances, leading to disputes that can span decades. For example, the Elgin marbles, a collection of ancient Greek sculptures housed in the British Museum, have been at the center of a heated debate over repatriation. While their cursed reputation isn't as prominent, the ethical and legal questions surrounding their acquisition add another layer of intrigue to their story. These battles highlight the fine line between preserving history and respecting cultural heritage, a tension that continues to shape how we view and display cursed treasures. Now, let's shift our focus to a fascinating intersection of history, law, and superstition: the legal battles over so-called cursed artifacts. These disputes often arise when ancient treasures, steeped in myth and mystery, become the center of ownership claims, pitting nations, museums, and private collectors against one another. But what happens when the artifacts in question are said to carry curses? These supernatural claims don't just add an eerie layer to the story. They can actually complicate legal proceedings and negotiations in unexpected ways. One of the most well-known cases involves the infamous Koh-i-Noor diamond, a gemstone with a history as glittering as it is grim. Originating from India, this diamond has passed through the hands of multiple rulers and empires, each leaving behind tales of misfortune and disaster tied to its possession. When India sought its repatriation, the diamond's alleged curse became a talking point, with some arguing that its return could bring calamity. While legal teams debated ownership rights, the whispers of its curse lingered in the background, adding an almost theatrical tension to the proceedings. But it's not just about diamonds or gemstones. Take, for example, the Elgin marbles, a collection of classical Greek sculptures currently housed in the British Museum. Greece has long demanded their return, citing cultural and historical significance. Yet, some locals have claimed that the marbles are cursed, pointing to the destruction and unrest that followed their removal from the Parthenon. While these claims aren't legally binding, they've certainly fueled public sentiment and added an emotional weight to the debate. Repatriation efforts often face significant challenges, from proving ownership to navigating international laws. But when curses enter the equation, the process becomes even more tangled. Museums and collectors sometimes resist returning artifacts, not just because of their value, but because they fear the repercussions of disturbing what some believe to be spiritually charged objects. On the other hand, countries of origin argue that these treasures are not just cultural property but sacred items tied to their spiritual heritage. The result: a legal and moral quagmire where history, belief, and law collide. This brings us to the spiritual perspective on curses, a viewpoint that often gets overlooked in legal debates. For many cultures, curses are not mere superstitions but deeply rooted spiritual beliefs tied to the land, ancestors, and traditions. When artifacts are removed from their original context, some believe they disrupt the spiritual balance, unleashing misfortune. This perspective challenges the Western legal framework, which often prioritizes tangible evidence over intangible beliefs. Yet, as we've seen, these beliefs can have a tangible impact on how these cases unfold. So, where does this leave us as we navigate the complex world of cursed artifacts? It's clear that the line between history and myth, law and spirituality is far from clear-cut. The next time you hear about a legal battle over an ancient treasure, remember, there's often more at stake than meets the eye. And sometimes the most powerful force at play isn't a court order, it's the weight of a centuries-old curse. Across cultures and throughout history, the idea of curses has always been deeply intertwined with spirituality. In many traditions, curses aren't just seen as random misfortunes, they're believed to carry a kind of cosmic weight, often tied to moral or divine justice. Take the concept of karma, for example. In Hinduism and Buddhism, karma is the principle that every action has consequences, shaping a person's destiny. If someone acts with malice or harm, the belief is that they'll eventually face repercussions, sometimes in the form of what we might call a curse. It's not just about punishment, it's about balance, a way the universe corrects itself. Similarly, in Christianity and Judaism, the idea of divine retribution often comes into play. Stories in the Bible, like the plagues of Egypt or the curse of Cain, illustrate how wrongdoing can lead to suffering, not just for individuals but for entire communities. These narratives suggest that curses serve as a kind of spiritual warning, urging people to reflect on their actions and seek redemption. But it's not all doom and gloom. Many spiritual traditions also emphasize protection. Amulets, prayers, and rituals are commonly used to shield against curses. In ancient Egypt, for instance, protective charms were buried with the dead to guard against malevolent forces in the afterlife. Even today, practices like smudging with sage or wearing talismans are believed to ward off negative energy. Rituals to break curses are just as fascinating. In some African traditions, for example, healers perform elaborate ceremonies involving chants, herbs, and sacrifices to cleanse individuals or communities of curses. In parts of Latin America, curanderos, traditional healers, use a combination of prayer, herbs, and symbolic actions to counteract what they see as spiritual attacks. These practices highlight a universal human desire to regain control over forces that feel beyond our understanding. They also reveal how deeply interconnected spirituality and the idea of curses are across time and geography. But here's where things get even more intriguing. While spiritual traditions offer explanations and solutions for curses, archaeology often steps in to provide a different perspective. By uncovering ancient artifacts, texts, and burial sites, archaeologists can shed light on how people in the past understood and dealt with curses. For instance, curse tablets, small pieces of metal inscribed with prayers or spells meant to harm others, have been found in places like ancient Greece and Rome. These discoveries don't just tell us about the fears and beliefs of past civilizations. They also invite us to question whether these curses were real or simply a reflection of human psychology. As we move into the next part of our exploration, we'll see how archaeology bridges the gap between myth and reality, offering clues to the truth behind these age-old mysteries. Modern archaeology has long been a battleground between myth and reality, especially when it comes to the enigmatic idea of cursed treasures. While tales of ancient curses have captured imaginations for centuries, archaeologists today approach these stories with a mix of curiosity and skepticism, armed with tools and methods designed to uncover the truth. It's not about dismissing legends outright, but rather understanding their origins and the role they played in the cultures that created them. Take, for example, the infamous Curse of the Pharaohs, which supposedly brought misfortune to anyone who disturbed the tombs of ancient Egypt. While many sensational stories emerged after the discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb in the early 20th century, modern research has shown that many of these incidents were either coincidental or exaggerated. Scientific analysis of the tomb's artifacts and the conditions surrounding the excavation revealed no evidence of supernatural forces at play. Instead, archaeologists suggest that the idea of a curse may have been a way for ancient Egyptians to deter grave robbers, a clever blend of psychology and storytelling to protect their sacred spaces. But not all curse legends are so easily explained. In some cases, archaeological discoveries have added fuel to the fire. For instance, the excavation of certain burial sites in Central America revealed toxic substances like mercury or arsenic embedded in the soil, which could have caused illness or death to those who entered. These findings suggest that some curses might have been grounded in very real dangers, even if they were unintentional. It's a fascinating reminder that ancient peoples often had knowledge and techniques that we're still uncovering today. At its core, archaeology isn't just about digging up artifacts, it's about piecing together the stories of the people who left them behind. And those stories often include elements of the supernatural, not because they were purely fictional, but because they served a purpose. Whether it was to protect sacred spaces, explain the unexplainable, or simply entertain, curses were a way for ancient cultures to make sense of their world. This brings us to the role of storytelling in history. The tales of cursed treasures and haunted relics aren't just relics of the past, they're living narratives that continue to shape how we view history. They remind us that the past is never just a collection of facts, but a tapestry woven with myths, fears, and hopes. And as archaeologists continue to peel back the layers of time, they're not just uncovering objects, they're uncovering the human stories that give those objects meaning. Throughout history, stories of cursed treasures have captivated imaginations, weaving their way through cultures and generations like threads in a grand tapestry. These tales, often steeped in mystery and danger, were not just told for entertainment, they were preserved and passed down through oral traditions, becoming part of the collective memory of entire communities. Imagine an elder by a fire recounting the legend of a golden artifact that brought ruin to anyone who dared possess it. This wasn't just a story, it was a warning, a lesson, and a way to make sense of the unknown. These narratives carried weight because they were more than mere words. They were reflections of human fears, desires, and the mysteries of the world. Oral traditions played a crucial role in keeping these stories alive long before the written word became widespread. In many cultures, storytellers were revered figures, entrusted with the responsibility of safeguarding their people's history and wisdom. Through repetition and embellishment, these tales evolved, blending fact with fiction, history with myth. Over time, the details might change, but the core message remained the same. Some treasures are not meant to be found, and some secrets are better left buried. These stories weren't just about cursed objects, they were about the consequences of greed, the dangers of ambition, and the thin line between curiosity and recklessness. But what does this tell us about how myths shape our understanding of history? Myths often serve as a bridge between the past and the present, offering a lens through which we interpret events and artifacts. Take, for example, the famous curse of Tutankhamun's tomb. While historians might debate the scientific validity of such a curse, the story itself has become inseparable from the discovery of the tomb. It captures the imagination, making the ancient world feel alive and relevant even thousands of years later. Myths like these don't just recount history, they breathe life into it, making it relatable and resonant for each new generation. Cursed treasures, then, are more than just objects of fascination, they are cultural symbols. They represent our collective fears and moral lessons, serving as cautionary tales that transcend time and place. Whether it's the lost gold of El Dorado or the cursed jewels of the Hope Diamond, these stories remind us that wealth and power often come at a cost. They challenge us to consider what we value and what we're willing to risk in pursuit of it. And perhaps most importantly, they show us how storytelling has the power to shape not just our understanding of the past, but also our choices in the present. As we explore these tales further, it becomes clear that the allure of cursed treasures isn't just about the objects themselves. It's about the stories they inspire and the truths they reveal about who we are. Throughout history, cursed treasures have captivated the human imagination, not just because of their glittering allure, but because they carry a darker weight, stories that whisper of greed, power, and the moral consequences of our desires. These tales are more than mere superstitions. They are cultural mirrors, reflecting the values, fears, and lessons of the societies that created them. Take, for instance, the infamous Hope Diamond. This stunning blue gem is said to bring misfortune to anyone who possesses it, a curse that has followed it through centuries of ownership. But beyond its eerie reputation, the Hope Diamond serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the corrupting influence of wealth. It's not just a cursed object, it's a symbol of how the pursuit of power can lead to ruin. Similarly, the Legend of El Dorado, the mythical city of gold, has haunted explorers and treasure hunters for generations. While it may not be a single cursed artifact, the obsession with finding it has led to countless tragedies, lives lost, empires crumbled, and dreams destroyed. The story of El Dorado isn't just about a lost city. It's a powerful metaphor for the human tendency to chase after unattainable wealth, often at great cost. These tales, passed down through the ages, remind us that the true curse may not lie in the treasure itself, but in the greed it inspires. And then there's the Amber Room, a masterpiece of amber panels and gold leaf, stolen by the Nazis during World War II and never recovered. Many believe it to be cursed, with countless individuals who have sought it meeting untimely deaths. But the Amber Room's curse speaks to a larger truth: the devastation wrought by war and the moral decay that accompanies the theft of cultural heritage. It's a reminder that some treasures are not meant to be possessed, but rather preserved as symbols of a shared human history. These stories of cursed treasures aren't just entertaining myths, they're cultural lessons wrapped in mystery. They warn us of the consequences of hubris, the dangers of greed, and the moral pitfalls that come with the pursuit of power. And woven into these tales is something even more profound: fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of retribution, and fear of our own darker impulses. This fear, in turn, shapes how we behave, how we make decisions, and how we view the world around us. It's a force that has driven entire civilizations to create rituals, laws, and stories to keep themselves in check. And perhaps, in the end, that's the real power of these cursed treasures. Not the gold or jewels they contain, but the lessons they teach us about ourselves. Fear has always been a powerful force in shaping human behavior, and when it comes to the idea of cursed treasures, its influence is undeniable. For centuries, the fear of curses has not only stopped treasure hunters in their tracks, but has also rewritten the way we view history itself. Imagine discovering a chest of gold, only to be paralyzed by the thought of a curse that might bring ruin to you and your family. This isn't just superstition, it's a deeply ingrained psychological response that has shaped decisions, both personal and collective. Take, for example, the infamous curse of King Tutankhamun's tomb. When Howard Carter uncovered the burial chamber in the early 20th century, the sudden deaths of several team members sparked global panic. Newspapers ran wild with stories of a pharaoh's vengeance, and even though science later debunked many of these claims, the fear of the curse lingered. This wasn't just about individual tragedy, it was about how fear can control entire societies, shaping what we believe and how we act. But fear isn't just a passive emotion, it's often wielded as a tool of control. In medieval Europe, tales of cursed relics were used to deter thieves and protect sacred objects. These stories weren't just cautionary tales, they were deliberate strategies to manipulate behavior. By instilling fear, those in power could safeguard their treasures without needing armies or locks. Even today, the idea of cursed artifacts continues to influence decisions. Museums and collectors sometimes avoid acquiring items with dark histories, not just out of respect but out of an unspoken fear of repercussions. The psychological impact of this fear runs deep. On an individual level, it can lead to irrational decisions like abandoning a potentially life-changing discovery. On a societal level, it can alter historical narratives, turning facts into legends and legends into warnings. Stories of cursed treasures become cautionary tales passed down through generations, shaping cultural attitudes toward wealth, greed, and morality. Yet, as we look to the future, the role of these stories is evolving. In a world where science and skepticism dominate, the idea of cursed treasures might seem like a relic of the past, but the allure of the unknown still captivates us. Modern treasure hunters and archaeologists often face a different kind of fear, not of curses, but of the ethical and moral dilemmas that come with unearthing the past. The stories we tell about cursed treasures are no longer just about fear. They're about responsibility, preservation, and the delicate balance between discovery and respect. So, what does the future hold for these tales of cursed riches? As long as humans are drawn to mystery and the promise of hidden wealth, these stories will endure. But perhaps they'll evolve, shifting from warnings of doom to reflections on our own humanity, reminding us that the real treasure isn't always gold, but the lessons we learn along the way. The allure of cursed treasure stories has captivated humanity for centuries, but as we step further into the 21st century, modern technology and science are reshaping how we interpret these ancient legends. With advancements like ground-penetrating radar, high-resolution satellite imaging, and forensic archaeology, we now have tools that can uncover the truth behind these tales like never before. Imagine a team of researchers scanning a remote jungle or desert, pinpointing the exact location of a long-lost treasure trove, only to find evidence that challenges the very curse tied to it. Could these discoveries dismantle the myths that have endured for generations? Or might they uncover something even more mysterious, something that science can't fully explain? This intersection of technology and folklore is fascinating, but it also raises important questions. For every treasure story debunked by science, there's another that seems to defy explanation. Take, for example, the infamous Hope Diamond, whose alleged curse has been scrutinized for decades. While some argue that its history of misfortune is mere coincidence, others point to patterns that seem too consistent to ignore. As we continue to explore these stories, it's clear that science and superstition are locked in a delicate dance, one that keeps us questioning what we truly believe. Yet, even as science sheds light on these mysteries, the appeal of cursed treasure stories remains stronger than ever. From blockbuster movies to best-selling novels, these tales continue to captivate our imaginations. Why? Perhaps it's because they tap into something primal, a mix of greed, fear, and wonder that's deeply human. Or maybe it's the thrill of the unknown, the idea that there are still secrets out there waiting to be uncovered. Whatever the reason, these stories remind us that the world is full of possibilities, both rational and unexplained. As we navigate this evolving landscape, it's crucial to approach these legends with a balance of curiosity and critical thinking. While it's tempting to get swept up in the romance of a cursed treasure, we must also ask ourselves, what's the evidence, what's the context, and what might we be overlooking in our quest for answers? By combining the tools of modern science with a thoughtful, open-minded approach, we can unravel these mysteries in a way that respects both history and the human imagination. After all, the truth behind these stories, whether fact or superstition, is often as fascinating as the legends themselves. As we explore the mysterious tales of cursed treasures, it's worth pausing to ask ourselves, how much of what we hear is rooted in fact, and how much is fueled by superstition? Stories of ancient artifacts bringing misfortune or doom have captivated imaginations for centuries, but it's crucial to approach these narratives with a healthy dose of skepticism. Critical thinking isn't just about doubting, it's about seeking clarity, questioning assumptions, and looking for evidence that either supports or debunks the claims surrounding these so-called cursed treasures. Take, for example, the infamous Hope Diamond. Many believe it's cursed, pointing to the tragic fates of its previous owners as proof. But when we examine the details, we find that some of these stories are exaggerated or entirely fabricated. This doesn't mean the diamond's history isn't fascinating, it absolutely is, but it reminds us to separate fact from folklore. Blindly accepting superstitions without scrutiny can lead to misunderstandings, and worse, it can overshadow the true historical significance of these artifacts. The danger of embracing superstitions without question lies in how easily they can distort our understanding of the past. When we attribute events to curses or supernatural forces, we risk ignoring the real, often complex, human stories behind them. For instance, the collapse of a dynasty or the downfall of a wealthy family might be blamed on a cursed relic, when in reality, political intrigue, economic shifts, or even simple bad luck could be the true culprits. By questioning these assumptions, we not only gain a clearer picture of history, but also develop a deeper appreciation for the cultures and people who created these treasures. So, how can we approach these stories with a critical mind? Start by asking questions. What evidence supports the claim of a curse? Are there alternative explanations for the events tied to the artifact? Who benefits from perpetuating the idea of a curse? Often, these tales are amplified by storytellers, filmmakers, or even those who profit from the mystery. By digging deeper, we can uncover the fascinating truths behind the legends, truths that are often more compelling than the myths themselves. As we wrap up our journey into the world of cursed treasures, let's reflect on the importance of critical thinking. It's not about dismissing the allure of these stories, it's about appreciating them for what they are, a blend of history, myth, and human creativity. By questioning what we hear and seeking evidence, we can enjoy the mystery while staying grounded in reality. After all, the greatest treasure of all might just be the knowledge we gain along the way. As we bring this exploration to a close, it's worth reflecting on the threads we've unraveled together. From ancient tales of cursed treasures buried deep in forgotten tombs to the scientific attempts to explain away these eerie legends, one thing is clear: the allure of these stories is as powerful today as it was centuries ago. Whether it's the cursed gold of the pharaohs, the ill-fated jewels of European royalty, or the mysterious artifacts said to bring doom to their possessors, these narratives tap into something deeply human, a blend of curiosity, fear, and wonder. What's fascinating is how these tales persist, even in an age where science and reason often dominate our understanding of the world. Perhaps it's because they remind us of the mysteries that still lie beyond our grasp, the things we can't quite explain. Or maybe it's the thrill of the unknown, the idea that somewhere out there, a treasure might be waiting, but at what cost? These stories challenge us to confront the tension between what we believe and what we can prove, between the tangible and the supernatural. And isn't that a part of life itself? We all navigate that gray area between fact and superstition, whether it's a lucky charm we carry, a ritual we follow, or a story we tell ourselves to make sense of the world. The legends of cursed treasures aren't just about gold and jewels, they're about the human desire to find meaning, even in the face of the inexplicable. So, as we step back from these tales, ask yourself, where do you draw the line between fact and superstition? Do you believe in the power of curses, or do you see them as mere reflections of our fears and imaginations? Whatever your perspective, one thing is certain: these stories will continue to captivate us, reminding us of the mysteries that still linger in the shadows of history. So, after unraveling the tales of hidden ancient treasures and the curses said to protect them, we're left with one central question: are these curses fact or superstition? The truth, as it often is, lies somewhere in the middle. Curses, while often dismissed as mere folklore, hold a fascinating power over the human imagination. They are not just stories, they are reflections of the cultures that created them, the fears they harbored, and the mysteries they couldn't explain. From a cultural perspective, curses served as warnings tools to protect sacred sites or valuable treasures from those who might seek to exploit them. They were a way for ancient societies to assert control over the unknown, using fear as a deterrent. Psychologically, the belief in curses taps into something primal within us: the fear of consequences, the dread of the unseen, and the weight of guilt. Even today, stories of cursed objects or locations captivate us, not because we necessarily believe in them, but because they challenge us to confront our own doubts and superstitions. Scientifically, the idea of curses often crumbles under scrutiny. Many so-called cursed artifacts or locations have been studied, and no evidence of supernatural forces has ever been found. Yet the stories persist, and perhaps that's the most intriguing part. It's not about whether curses are real, it's about why we keep telling these stories, why they resonate across generations, and what they reveal about our collective psyche. As we close this exploration, let's remember the words of the great philosopher Carl Sagan, who once said, "Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known." The mysteries of ancient curses and hidden treasures remind us that there is still so much we don't understand about history, about ourselves, and about the world around us. What do you think? Are curses fact, superstition, or something in between? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this journey into the world of historical mysteries, don't forget to subscribe and join us as we uncover more stories that blur the line between fact and legend. Until next time, keep wondering, keep exploring, and keep questioning the unknown.